Hi friends, welcome back to the channel. This is your daily news. So the Fed released their decision on whether or not to change monetary policy, and it's a pause. So we've been talking about the last few weeks. That's sort of what I was predicting. However, I think their language came out a bit more hawkish than in the past. So let's take a look at the headlines and then jump right in. Headline: Powell says Fed rate cuts are still a couple of years out. And that's actually really interesting because if you listen to the crazy bulls, they'll say, oh my God, they're going to cut rates right away in 2024. But when Fed Powell is saying like a couple of years out, that means like, no, maybe not so fast. Moreover, if you take a look at the other headline here, Fed holds off on rate hike, right? That was a pause again, but says two more are coming later this year. So it looks like they're not done hiking, and we still may have some more pain ahead. That's sort of what I've been thinking. I'm a bit more bearish, but I get it. The last few months, it's just been a crazy rally, and honestly, it's just nuts. Our market is whack, and sometimes our market be crazy. You can take a look at this stuff as well. So as you can see, there's 18 policymakers, right? 12 penciled in rates at or above the median range of 5.5 to 5.75%. And you can actually look at the dot plot here. You can read the headlines. Federal Reserve pause rates campaign, but signals more to come. Basically, as of now, basically all of them are saying it's going to be above 5% in 2023, and then maybe 2024 you start to look at things that come down. So Fed Jerome Powell is a bit more hawkish in his language and what the dot plot would suggest. However, yes, I do think rates are going to be elevated. They're really saying that, and not only that, they may take them higher. The other thing too that I thought was interesting is they're talking that the next meeting, it's going to be a live meeting, and they're going to be taking it meeting by meeting. A lot of times they'll say, we're data dependent, this kind of stuff, but the idea of live meeting, I think they really want to put in play that we're pausing now, but next time we could certainly raise them. The reason why we're pausing is he's saying there's two-sided risks. Here's a quote: "We've covered a lot of ground, and the full effects of our tightening have yet to be felt." The basic gist is they want to, be able to examine all of the data, let it come in. Listen, we're raising. Let's see sort of what's going on, and then maybe think about it a little bit more. But I don't think there's any cuts coming. And they're keeping an eye on commercial real estate. You see right here. We've talked about this several times on the channel, and the Fed's well aware of the regional banking crisis. I think they wouldn't know. It was just a month or so ago we were talking about, Silicon Valley Bank, and then was it First Republic and others were completely failing. So they are certainly, want to cool inflation, but it's not like they just necessarily need or want to break every single bank out there. So they got to be careful. So they're certainly pausing right now. Moreover, getting inflation down is obviously going to be a trick for them. And it was interesting because someone asked a question. I think it was one of these ones here. Yeah. Would you, want to, instead of go for your 2% target inflation, would you maybe go for 3, 2.5, these kind of things? And basically he's like, nope, we're sticking with our 2%. And this is kind of a tough corner that they're painted themselves into because, all along they've been saying, we're going to keep rates elevated. We want to get inflation down to 2%, and being really clear on that number. If they wanted to give themselves more wiggle room, early on, they could have said, we need to bring inflation down, but not necessarily give a particular number target that would give them more room. But they've been saying 2% all along. It's kind of hard for them to, deviate from that because it would just really show that maybe they don't know what they're doing, right? That kind of stuff. So I just wanted to mention that, yes, the question was asked in the Q&A session, what about a different target? Because then it might be more achievable. The other thing that I thought was kind of interesting too, and this is something we just talked about just yesterday. We were talking about CPI data. Whereas, you can read this here. Housing is currently unaffordable and has been in the last 20 years. Higher mortgage rates and resilient house prices. You're looking at the median mortgage payment for a 30-year fixed is at $2,100 a month, which is really high. And the other one is Powell is saying that services inflation is the one that is just not budging. The basic gist of it is, and from my understanding, is essentially wages are up and the labor market is tight, so you got to keep paying people money. And especially for example, let's say with the unions, and I think they're still having a strike over in Seattle. The longshoremen, people who come in and move goods on and off ships. I think that's what the strike is. And let's say the union, negotiates a deal to pay people more. It's not like wages are going to go down, right? The same way, say, like for now, the writers in Hollywood are on strike, the WGA, and again, like if they negotiate for more wages, like that's going to go down. So that's going to be tough to bring down cost of things. The other thing too, which I want to mention, it was interesting. We were and I love our community guys, and I always encourage you to read through comments because you'll hear lots of smart thoughts. But I was reading some, and someone was saying, one of the things why we feel inflation all the time is because of sticker shock when we go to the grocery store. And I'm telling you guys, like my wife and I went out to dinner last night, and it's the same. We were actually going to eat at one restaurant. They have like a place we like to go to. It was salmon and pork. Is what I like to eat. And they had raised the price. Let's see, percentage wise, I think that would be, calculating in my head, I don't know, like an 8% raise, something like that. It basically went from a 12 to a 14. And it's just, it's not like a major difference in terms of like, oh my God, it's not from 12 to say 24, but it's just more than what you had expected. So we ended up going to a different restaurant. We ended up paying 13, but got, a different food because essentially in your mind, you calculate it if you, say, and what we got was sushi. I'll just give you an idea of like how price of food here is in Korea. In Busan, 11 pieces of sushi runs you about $9, something like that. So, which, as you can certainly figure out, food is much cheaper here, and the quality is much higher. I can tell you. I was telling you what the cost of stuff is, because I know in USA, if you were to get the same kind of meal that we have, this is essentially kind of luxury type food, you're probably looking at like a $30, I would say, maybe more. It depends, and you may not even be able to get the quality of sushi that we get. And I don't know, I'm talking about sushi now, but I'm getting hungry. But this is sort of where the sticker shock comes in, and it's I'm sure you guys know this feeling where in your mind, you go to whatever restaurant and you just say, okay, it's going to cost X, and you get there and like all the prices are elevated, and this like it's just in your mind you have this sort of thing calculated like you have in your budget, the same way that maybe you say have all your credit cards and your mortgages, these kind of things, like budget at a certain level. And when interest rates are, say, raised, and suddenly everything bumps up just a little bit because you're on variable rates, and suddenly it's like, oh my God, you're getting sticker shock. And so then when you look at inflation, in the conversation I had in the comments was like, TVs are going down in price, but like, I don't go shopping for TVs every day. And, for many people, they bought a TV during the pandemic, and you don't need to buy a TV like every year, right? So you don't notice it, whereas it just seems like food is still at elevated prices, and that's sort of what I experienced. One of the things that also as well, I'm just talking about Korea, I was talking about this right now. They raised the price of electricity. I want to say that was about 3 weeks ago, something like that. It was all over the news that basically everyone's electric bill is going to go up. Another one with as well, and I think it's different than USA. And this showed up in the data, CPI, to where like health insurance had gone down. And someone mentioned that that might be due to like, not necessarily that just, costs have gone down, but more like they're just cutting, benefits, and hence they can then lower the price. Here in Korea is actually quite interesting. That's been a controversial topic, to where the price of healthcare is actually going up. It's still much, much cheaper in the USA, maybe like a fifth of the cost, something like that. But, things going up in cost when, people have budgeted certain kind of things, and especially to the ones who are on fixed income, or, at your job, say you're getting your 3 to 4% raise. But then, like, as we talked about just yesterday, your mortgage is up, say, like 11% than it was year over year. It's certainly feeling the pain. So, and I always say the same thing over and over, guys. I mean, the best thing right now, given the current circumstances, is to make sure you're secure in your job. Because Federal Jerome Powell is saying, I think they think that unemployment is going to peak next year, maybe hit around like the 4.5% mark, something like that. And I think at the moment, we're like at 3.5%, something like that. So. The basic gist of it is people are probably going to lose their jobs. So that's why I'm always warning you guys about being secure in this kind of stuff. And, we're going to watch to see, how everything plays out. I always find it, odd to where, how can I say, you sort of get these projections of like wild projections of basically, I don't know, I won't say they're fake bulls, but we'll just say how about this. People who work in the financial industry have a financial incentive to tell people to, keep giving me money, keep, giving, our hedge fund money, keep giving, money in the market, stuff like that, because everything's going to be great and you're all going to be rich. Like it's to their advantage to tell you these kind of things. I do this independently. I'm not managing your money. I don't want to manage your money. But I do enjoy, mentioning the news, and sort of my goal on this kind of stuff is just, frankly, just to tell you the truth and just go and look at data together. So that's why I show you guys stuff like this, like the dot plot thing. I want you to see sort of where we're at. So yeah, it looks like maybe a couple more hikes this year. They're not going to be cutting till Palestine in a couple more years, but we'll see on that. And this what's going on. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on on what you think the Fed should do. What do you think about any of the thing that Federal Jerome Powell said? And where do you see inflation going? Thanks again for watching, everyone, and I'll catch you in the next video.